it sideways so we can get both of us. Sorry if you have to keep your phone sideways. This is my younger sibling, Yan. They participated in the Glassroots program, so we're going to be talking with them today. Let's just give it one more minute or so. So just a few more people sign on. So, I think we're going to start. So, nice to meet everyone. Hello. I'm Erlea. On normal days, you can find me in the Hot Shop at Glassroots in Newark, New Jersey. Glassroots is a glass art studio in Newark, New Jersey that works to ignite and build the cultural and economic vitality of our community through the glass arts. Since you can't visit our studios during this time, each day we're bringing you activities via Facebook, Instagram, our website, and please be sure to sign up on our email list to get our full week schedule ahead of time by sending your email to info@glassroots.org and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Today we will be talking about the business competition, and we will be talking with my younger sibling, Yan. They did the business competition 4 years in a row, so they did it all throughout their high school year. They made multiple types of businesses, and they made a bunch of different types of glass art. We have some examples for you today that we'll show you in a little bit. So, once again, we're glad that we can provide our virtual studios free of charge. So all of the students in the larger community, if you're able to make a gift to support any ongoing operations, please make a donation to glassroots.org/donate. So, Yan, you did the program 4 years in a row. So, when you started off the program, considering I was an alumni and I kind of introduced it to you indirectly before you actually joined, what were you like excited about entering Glassroots, and what made you like really want to do it and participate?
Okay, my answer is super childish because I saw Glassroots when I was in middle school, and I thought the coolest thing in the world was being able to play with fire and melt something that I thought you couldn't really shape. Like, I didn't know how glass was created before, but finding out that you can just manipulate it in so many ways, like that made me stupid excited for the world.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you liked manipulating in a bunch of ways. So we have 3 different shops in our studios if you've never been there. Our studio has the flame shop, which lets you heat beads with torches in front of you. It has the flat shop, which allows you to make mosaics. And it has the hot shop with a bigger furnace and allows you to work with molten glass from the beginning. So which of those 3 shops did you feel like most attracted to, that you like wanted to like learn like sooner, or you were just like, that's something that I've never experienced?
Shockingly enough, I think it was actually the flat shop that I liked the most.
We're gonna change it, just cause.
Okay. So the flat shop was the one that I actually liked the most, despite me being most excited about playing with fire. Because I like the idea of using a bunch of little pieces to create like a larger image. Like, so I also draw on the side, and one thing is I like stipo art, which is using a bunch of tiny little dots to create a larger image. And the closer those dots are, the more detail you could put in, etc., etc. And that's kind of something you do with mosaics. And can I do this?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So that's kind of what you do with mosaics too. Like the more, so this is a piece that I made in my last year. And it's essentially 2 planets and in space. And the closer you have the glass pieces, the more solid it looks like from an outer view. But when you look up close, they're actually a bunch of tiny little broken glass pieces.
So you mentioned that this is a planet. So since what the business competition is, so let me explain for anyone who isn't 100% sure. We have a program that runs year-long throughout Glassroots normally, and we would have students come in from throughout the Newark and greater Newark area, and they would participate creating all kinds of different art for businesses. And they would create their own business with their own theme. And so you said that had planets on it. What was the theme and name of that business that year?
So I'm pretty cheesy, so I usually use puns in the names of my businesses. It's a business I created with my cousin, and we called it Planet Out because it's out of this world.
Yeah, it's called Planet Out. I love it. I love that name. The name is actually really, really like solid. So, plan it out. So you made these mosaics that have planets on it. So what other kind of creations did you make during this? Like, what kinds of stuff did you make that like resembled planets? Because it seems like you had a planet theme.
We didn't only create planet-themed things. We created things that we believed would be like out of this world, or like things that seem like alien and strange, like this object here, which is glass.
It's a
Paperweight. A paperweight.
It's a paperweight, y'all. It holds weight. It holds paper down.
This can hold like a brick of paper down, but it's essentially like these alien-looking flowers, like extraterrestrial.
Extraterrestrial.
Okay, basically like it's like extraterrestrial like life forms essentially in here. It's like kind of abstract, but I think it's honestly like my coolest piece, and I want to low-key sell it, but not. But
if you want to see the piece up closer, it seems to have multiple colors. You can keep talking.
Oh yeah. So we created like a bunch of things centered around the idea of space, and that was mostly because both me and my cousin have a fondness for space, and she and I essentially love the idea of like space travel, learning more about things other than just things in this world.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, I love space too. I'm so glad that you had the theme planned out. It's the name is great. That's what I love the best. You made these paperweights. So you made these paperweights. These are giant pieces of solid glass. How'd you make them? What process did you use to create them?
So we created them in the hot shop, and in the hot shop there are essentially like these giant furnaces. And in one of these furnaces, there's molten glass, like heated at, 2,000 degrees?
2,000 degrees.
2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and absolutely insane. You could fry off your eyebrows. But
you won't fry off your eyebrows at glass roots. It's really safe, relatively.
It feels like it.
It's really safe. It's hot though. You can feel the radiant heat from the furnace as you're working. Mm-hmm. It's definitely warm when you're working.
Super hot, but it's super cool because when you grab you use pipes to essentially grab the glass, and you can manipulate it in so many ways that I've created flowers, failed attempts at flowers before with this process too. It's really difficult to make sculptural work with it, I found out, for me. But I actually super love it. Things do get heated, but there's so much like endless possibility. Like you can make vases, you can make like vases, you can make bowls, you can make so many different things. Like, it's insane, the possibilities.
So you're mentioning how there's so many possibilities. What are one of those possibilities? I see you have an example that's a little different from these other two that you showed us before.
Oh, so I have from one of my older businesses, I don't quite remember the name because it was sophomore year. I created this hollow like work with like these little pieces inside. So it's essentially an ornament, and an ornament is basically any like glass object that's kind of hollow inside that you could hang. And the theme for this business though was Alzheimer's and memory. I believe it's like centered around seasons or something of the sort. And in the inside you could kind of see these little connections, and I put these connections in because I wanted it to represent like synapses and memories inside the brain. So that was mostly the purpose for, I don't know if you can see it well.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to try to bring it a little higher. Hopefully you can see. See how there's connections, like the synapses that they're talking about right now? You can see that there's 4 points, and it's connected in the center, inside.
And that was mostly, that's also something that you can create in the hot shop. It doesn't necessarily have to be a solid work. It can also be hollow as well, though that's a little bit more trickier to learn.
That's awesome. So I have a few questions here for you. Give me 1 second, see if my computer actually works. So you had so many businesses, and you've been in Glassroots for so long. Like, you started off really young because you had the introduction through me. But what made you stay so long? What made you like just keep going and you like go for 4 years in a row?
I genuinely liked the learning experience as a whole. It wasn't just business, though. I think that was like the main focus of it was business indeed. But like I like the fact that you could learned so many things from so many different people, and I personally, like, I would consider myself like a artist-ish, like an art-ish person. So
Me too, I feel that.
So
I'm joking. Continue.
but so I like learning all the different forms that you can manipulate it, and learning the business side like kind of like highlighted it. During the program, we took a trip to see different kinds of businesses. At one point, we met the owners of like Joe's Tea, and even though they don't necessarily own art and they don't have an art business, still learning that as well. Like these interesting trips, like kind of kept me staying because I kind of kept me going because I was curious as to what else I could see, what else I could learn. We also took trips to the super, like, not exclusive per se, but it's essentially like a wholesale business fair in Pennsylvania, I believe.
I believe it's called Acre, and yes, it's usually held in Pennsylvania, and it's usually held around spring or summertime. It's actually a genuinely very great experience. It has artists all over the world that come through, all over the United States mainly, but there are people internationally that come too. So talk about it, continue, because I love that experience.
Yeah. Acre, I think Acre was such a fun experience for me. I really loved it because you met so many various people who actually made a living off of their work, and they even give you some tips and tricks. Like, I actually learned how to do this, how to put like these synapses inside of this object due to one of the people inside of the fair. He made jellyfish sculptures inside of glass art, and he basically told me, oh, you can put things inside of it while still keeping the object mostly hollow. And that was something that I learned from there. And it kind of put into perspective that, like, business, when you make things a business, you have to change the way you make your art, kind of. But at the same time, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's strictly just business, strictly art, because you can make your art a business. And that's mostly why I liked B&E and Yes a lot.
So just to explain what the programs are called, B&E is called Business and Entrepreneurship, and Yes is called Youth Entrepreneurial Spirit. They work in collaboration with this other program called Flame. Flame has a very long acronym. I'm sorry, I don't know it at the moment. But all of these programs work in conjunction. They teach art skills, glass art skills, and they teach business skills along with it. So that way you have a little bit of both, and you then can sell your pieces. So let's see. So you talked a little bit about the art that you made, and you talked about what you liked to make. So did you prefer a more like, so in glass blowing and in flame working, there is a lot of artistic creation and freedom to it, but there's also a very practical side to it as well. The practical side includes things like dishes. It includes things like in flame working you can have heat resistant pieces that are made for scientists. And so, what kind of pieces did you like? Did you like to create practical pieces like dishware or jewelry, things that people wear or use, or did you like to create like artistic and like almost like abstract-esque pieces? It seems based on these, they're almost abstract in nature. Like you kind of look at them for the beauty, like.
Yeah, so I don't really think much in practicality. I just think of things like, if it's super pretty, I could probably send a message with it. Like, too, like these, the planet sculptures that we had, we initially planned for creating small stories around them.
Oh, wow.
And that's because we think space travel is super cool, and we like sci-fi, so we were thinking about maybe creating like stories to go along with them, because mostly I prefer art to be just art. It doesn't necessarily have to have a purpose, but it can send a message if you would prefer to. But I just like pretty things, honestly.
I feel that, yeah.
I just like pretty things too. Like things like sculptural work, like jewelry. I actually like making jewelry because they're pretty by default, but also because they sell fast. Like, that's kind of shallow, but
I agree.
It's kind of
shallow, but it's like necessary. When arts people, I agree with you, but I'm just saying because it's shallow, but it's necessary. When arts creators create things, there's a degree of you need to sell this. You need to make your business work and function and be like practical. And so I agree with you on that. When I, also near my senior year, I started creating more jewelry. Like I realized that the biggest way, not the biggest, but one of the easier sellers was relatively inexpensive jewelry that was made a little faster, but still just as beautiful, or still very beautiful and still very elegant. So like, what was one of the jewelries that you liked to create, since you said by default? Like I made pendants that I made in the hot shop, but what did you make?
Okay, so when I made sculptural work, I kept to the flame shop, which is where you work with these butane, right? Butane torches.
You work, yeah. Propane torches. Butane,
and you essentially
both.
You essentially will use the flame to melt these rods of glass onto this little metal rod that has clay around it, so that you can break the bead off or whatever thing it is. I, funnily enough, did not use the metal rod when I made my sculptural pieces. I had a business... Okay, remember the fact that I like puns? I had a business called Petal to the Metal. And it was literally glass flowers on metal jewelry. That's why it was Petal to the Metal.
I love it, though. I love it. It's really good. The puns are solid. Solid name businesses, for sure.
So yeah, so in Petal to the Metal, I made... these sculptural what was the initial question? Hold up.
No, it's okay, it's okay. The idea was, do you like practical pieces or
yeah.
more abstract art? And you said Petal to the Metal is like a mix of both,
yeah,
I guess?
Yeah. Petal to the Metal was a mix of both because it could be practical, but honestly, I had a lot of creative freedom in the types of flowers I had. Like a lot of the flowers didn't have like realistic colors. Like it would have an orange stem and like blue leaves. Like it wouldn't have something that was necessarily like realistic, but at the same time it was like a sort of like artistic freedom, because there's so many different types of flowers in this world. Like you could have like hibiscus, you could have hydrangeas, like, so the world itself is pretty beautiful, but you don't necessarily need to make it practical, you know what I mean? So yeah. That's kind of was one of my inspirations.
Well, okay, so thank you for that. I'm gonna move on to another question. So, in this competition, essentially it is a longer term program, but it ends with a competition, right? It ends with you presenting in front of judges and giving your experiences and your business and explaining it. How was that experience for you? Like, especially freshman year when you were new to it. I think senior year, I'm sure you had a little more of the ropes handled down with 4 years of practice. Oh, yeah, but how was it? How was the first year? How did you experience that?
I was so anxious. I was like, so freshman year, I hated presenting anything. Like whether it was a PowerPoint, whether it was like a paper in class, I hated presenting absolutely everything. I hated the fact that I had to go in front of people and talk to people. In my first year, there was literally like a crowd of people I had to present to. And I messed up in that presentation like 5 times. And I remember those 5 times very solidly. I was on the wrong slide almost every single time.
It happened.
It was a sad time. But then I realized, if I just keep going with it, maybe they will notice that the slide behind me isn't what I'm saying. Like, maybe they'll just think about the flow more than the actual, like, thing behind me. So I learned, like, from my first year very, like, early on that if you just keep going, people presume that, like, flow is confidence. So, like, it helps a lot. It helps a lot to present.
So it seems like you were learning how to speak. It seems like you were learning how to present, even like levels of confidence. So it seems like that's one of the reasons that you stayed for so long. So as you like developed this confidence and art style, how did you change? How did it impact what you did? Like I know that you said you liked mosaics when you first started the most, because it's like drawing almost. You can create a bigger image on a flat surface out of smaller pieces, like drawing. So how did that affect your drawing style or what you do for art now?
Can I bring in the other piece? You know the octopus piece?
Sure.
Just a second.
Okay, one moment, they'll be back. In this moment, I'm going to show you, for anyone that missed it, I'll show you really quickly. These are some of the art pieces that Yan created. These two, this was based off like alien like figures inside, and this was their amoeba like piece. Not their amoeba, their brain like piece that you can see. I think the planet one is honestly probably the one that interests me a lot because I love planets and I love space. And I like that this literally looks like 2 planets, and I think that looks like a sun, but that's my interpretation of it. I don't know what it was supposed to be. So
It kind of works as a sun, honestly.
So you brought us another art piece. Show us what you brought us.
So I mentioned before how I like mosaic pieces because you can use a bunch of tiny images, a bunch of tiny things to create a larger image. And stippling is an art that I mentioned before. Stippling, for those of you who don't know, is a bunch of tiny dots used to create like a much larger image. And I got into working with fire and things of the sort. So I like wood burning now, and I wood burned this piece. I don't know if you
Here,
see it.
I can show you a better picture like this. See, it's a little octopus.
Yeah, it's like it's the Dumbo octopus. So it's a sea creature that was discovered a few years ago, relatively recently, and I created it using a bunch of little dots. Like, I believe that kind of influenced my art style because even though it's like time consuming on a drawing scale, like it takes like this piece alone took like 3 hours, and I don't know if you guys could see, but there's like a bunch of tiny little dots.
It's literally made. Each individual dot is by hand.
Yeah.
Like just constantly. So the shading isn't done. Like pointillism. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
What's it called? So I feel like that kind of influenced my art in a sense. Like, even though it's time consuming, I feel like it's well worth it for the image at the end. And that's kind of what I use for like larger projects too. I usually don't work on larger projects because I do everything like on a smaller scale rather than on a larger scale. Because I think like on individual rather than like whole. And that kind of helped me think of things more in a whole stance. Like, when I'm working on a piece and let's say I mess up, I don't automatically think that it's over yet because there's so many more things I can add onto it that can create a larger, much better image in the end.
Okay, so I mean, this is like the largest piece. These are the largest pieces you have. They're not that big. They're maybe a few inches, 2-3 inches apart. So you had a multitude of businesses, and you actually won a competition or two yourself. How was it winning? How was that experience of just going out there and being like, wow, this actually worked out, and I sold art, and I had to create all of this? How was that? That business aspect of it, that like little bit of competitive flavor.
Competitive flavor.
Competitive flavor.
Capitalism in me.
Yeah. How was it, please?
It was honestly like pretty dope. At first I didn't like the competition because I didn't think much that it was creative rather than it was something that I had to do. But when I got into it and I learned the different businesses, like, and what you can make with it, I realized like, oh, you can have more than just like a set like art. You can make so many different things under one specific theme. And I think the competition helped me like focus and narrow down things that I actually wanted to do, because it's not like you could have 30 million projects and all of them are unique. It has to have some sort of like concise like center theme or like point. And I feel like that focused me in a sense, and it also gave me like a kind of drive too, because I realized in competition that when you have a certain theme, it's easier to pitch to people, it's easier to explain to people, and it's easier to kind of get people to buy it when they understand it a little more. Like, Plan It Out is very straightforward. We like space travel, and we were going to give some funds to help keep science programs in schools, help keep some art programs in school as well, because I believe like both are creative licenses that could be driven into people. And
STEAM.
Yeah, STEAM.
Science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. STEAM.
Yeah. So I feel like those are very important programs that to have, and me and my cousin focused on that a little bit, and Plan It Out. And Pedal to the Metal, I personally am an environmentalist. Like, I try to reduce as much like plastic use as I can. Unfortunately, I can't really avoid it when I get like packages and things of the sort. But I try to, when I do things even even at my job, I try to reduce the amount of plastic I use or need, because I feel like you should protect the world that you're in a sense.
Awesome, yeah. It's a little bit of your like philanthropic like nature. Like, I mean, wanting to donate to the arts and sciences is part of that as well, which is great. And I'm glad that that's actually one of the things that we teach as well. We teach that all businesses should have some kind of philanthropy that they donate to, that they should give out and help the communities and the people that they are part of, and the communities that they're a part of or they're not a part of, and the places that they just feel like they can make an impact with their donations and help. And I love that. I love what you had. Even we have someone saying very cool, and we have someone saying that was a good mission, which I love. That was a good mission. So there are a bunch of different types of businesses you can create. There's service businesses, which directly handle customers. Like if you buy food, that's a service business. If you get your hair done, that's a service business. There are manufacturing businesses, which create these large, industrial things. There are retail businesses, which directly sell to the customer. So what kind of business, these are just an example of a few. What kind of business did you like to create? Or which type of business were you interested in most in creating? Like, it seems like you have these kind of like retail business style so far with these individual pieces, but which one were you like driven towards the most? And which one were your businesses themed off of most?
So as an artist, by default you are a manufacturer because you create the art. For selling wise, I actually prefer wholesale. Even though retail is directly to the people, I actually prefer wholesale on a selling matter, because wholesale, going back to the fact that you have like a specific theme, when you keep creating these artworks back to back, when you have something that you're focused on, like let's say those flower pendants that I made, that was a wholesale business. That was I created a bunch of these very centered and very like kind of unique in small ways, but still like very very focused pieces that were easy to like pop out one after the other. And when you're focused on when you already have an image of one thing that you want to create in, like, even if it's in slightly different ways, but it's still relatively the same thing, it's easier to pop out and it's easier to actually sell as well. That's why I prefer wholesale over retail, because even though retail allows for more creative freedom, wholesale actually makes it easier to, one, learn the craft, and two, actually get things out and selling.
I agree with you 100%. The best way I think to learn any craft is to do it thousands and thousands of times. Like, all artists just love what they do, so they just keep creating, and just constantly creating drives you to like keep getting better and working at it. So so we're almost near the end, but I want to ask you a few more questions. So how, now that you're a little older, how do you think Glassroots has impacted you? It was such a large portion of your life, and you clearly took some examples for your art. You clearly took some examples for the way that you understand business and even your confidence. How else do you think it has impacted you?
Okay, I would say the confidence thing is the most important, because I think that's actually why I have the job that I have now. So right now I'm a sales rep. So I'm a sales specialist in Home Depot. Not a plug-in, but it is. But
It's kind of plug-in. It's not a plug-in.
It's not.
It's not a plug-in. We are not affiliated with Home Depot. This is just their son. This is just their job.
No. But as a sales rep, so now it has helped me get on the job, because now I know how to approach people. I know how to sell things to them. So it's helped me gain confidence and helps me in job interviews in the long run. It also helps me with the idea, like I was actually thinking of maybe reselling these pieces that I have.
Just so you know, we bought these pieces from the competition at the end.
Yeah.
We at the end of the year, we have a huge sale that goes, the students get a portion of the profits, and we sell it to family, friends, we sell it to random passerbys, to teachers, to other students. And my parents bought some of these for us, which are awesome. These are just great paperweights. Look at that.
What was I saying?
You were saying you sell it at the end.
Oh yeah, so it kind of helps me. The confidence helps me in job interviews. I learned how to speak better and how to approach people. So it helps me. Land the job or land a sale as well. And yes, it did help me speak in the interview. For example, when I initially applied for the job, I didn't apply as a sales rep. I applied as just a normal aisle associate, just downstocking, etc. But then when I entered, they were low on sales reps. So he asked me, because he realized on my portfolio,
on your resume?
On my resume, that I had a sales experience. And when I explained to him, he had me actually sell an appliance to him then and there in the interview, and that's actually how I got the job. Just learning how to sell and how to actually like approach people, and that's actually what I do now. Like I find out what they want, what they're actually focused, what they actually need, what they want with it, etc. Like it's kind of easier when you break things down, and that's kind of what B&E and Yes has taught me, to break down what people like want or need and how to actually like approach them with it and sell it to them.
I like that. So we're gonna wrap this up soon. Thank you so much for coming here. If you want, you have one last piece here. Could you show them what that piece is and explain why you brought it out?
Okay, so I have this piece.
And thank you, real quick, just before you start, I'm so sorry. Thank you to everyone who joined. We're gonna show this last piece, and then we're gonna start wrapping up. But thank you for coming in. Thank you for stopping by. So explain, what is this last piece?
So this last piece is actually broken into two different pieces. It's kind of hard to see because it's clear. But essentially...
Sideways too. See the thickness.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
She... Okay.
So...
So... So this last piece, I made, when I was cold working. Oh my god, we didn't even speak of cold working. But
okay.
that's
It's
my
okay.
favorite art form with glass. Ironically, even though I super love fire and I super love piecing things together, I also love breaking things down. So that's basically what cold working is. And I actually used a saw to make this.
Okay, to slightly, just a little bit explain what cold working is. So in glass blowing, when you create a piece, there's usually it's not just this, but let me explain. There's usually a little bit of a sharp edge on the bottom of the piece. So see this piece, how it's mostly round? This flat bottom section was actually worked. So we have different pieces of tools and equipment that all use silica carbide or this artificial diamond essentially, or actual diamonds, depending on your price range. And they can actually etch away the glass and smooth it out. So you can technically, if you keep going and you keep polishing this with finer and finer materials, it gets clear. So you actually love cold working the most, and you actually like doing this. It's called cold working, just so you know, because all of the machines are water fed to prevent the glass from breaking. Hello, Richard, for joining us. So you were just talking about how cold working is actually your favorite form. This actually doesn't have to do with making any of the pieces combined. It's like breaking it apart almost. You can glue them together after. So explain, what did you like about it most? What did you like?
I loved cold working because I felt like it had endless possibility. And actually, recently I bought a Dremel, which is essentially an etching tool used for things to carve away objects, to carve away at glass and stone and things of the sort, to create these dope pieces, honestly. And I used a saw to actually make this, which was honestly unnecessary, but I just liked using the saw. Like, super unnecessary, but I created these little patterns. I etched these little patterns in, and I smoothed it out with the Dremel. And it was a star, and I created it for that Alzheimer's business that I also used to create this piece earlier.
So why does it look the way it does? It looks very, very, like, why'd you choose that design, that kind of cracked pattern-esque?
So it actually broke apart when I was reheating it to smooth out all of the little edges. And I actually thought that actually was kind of symbolic because I liked etching things into glass because my theme around the time was memories, and I have ADHD, so I forget a lot. But, so it kind of just coincides. But having this broken was like low-key how I also sold it because I was like, oh, broken memories, like, oh, Alzheimer's, like how things like always seem to be chipping away. That's like that's how I could sell it. So yeah, thinking of these in like little ways, that's kind of how I did it. Yeah.
I like it. So that was awesome. Thank you so much for that. If anyone has any questions, feel free to post them in the comments. We'll stay on for a little bit, see if anyone has any questions. Once again, thank you all for coming here and joining us for this live stream today. Just as a reminder, we offer these virtual studios during the week on our Instagrams and Facebook. We send out an email to anyone at info@glassroots.org. Yes, you can see it. Yeah, if you want, we're going to show all of the pieces now, so that you can see all of the pieces. She has, they have 4 pieces right now, 5 pieces. That's one of them.
I don't know if you can see it with the glare.
Yeah, the light is a little strong.
It's not focusing.
It's okay.
But you kind of see how it's etched.
It's like, it has like those cuts in. That's one of their pieces. They have this, which is a paperweight.
And if you show the top, it's a flower. Like an alien flower.
Like an alien flower, a paperweight. You can kind of see how they moved the colored glass. No, we made this in our studio. So these were made in our glass blowing studio at Glass Roots. It's in Newark, New Jersey at 10 Bleecker Street. Currently, we're not open to the public due to everything, but we are trying to reach out to you through these studios. So thank you so much for joining. This is another one of the pieces they made at the hot shop.
Yeah, a little burning.
Yeah. So this, just in case, because I wasn't sure if you were here earlier. They made this to represent like brain synapses, if I'm right, and like it was on behalf of Alzheimer patients. And what else you have? What is this again? Just
2 planets, and it was meant to be a picture frame, which is why it has this hole in the middle of it. And like, I was gonna put something like super cheesy, cause why not? And I was gonna like, you were like the center of my galaxy or something. Like I was like gonna have that. I was gonna have that as like the cheesy message to put behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was kind of the thought behind it.
So these are some of the artworks that they created. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you to everyone who's watching and listening and commenting. Thank you for participating. Once again, we're so glad we can provide this free of charge to anyone watching and to the larger community. If you're able to make a gift or support us on the ongoing operations, please make a donation online at glassroots.org/donate. Remember, you can email info@glassroots.org in order to get information about our virtual studios. We're always updating on Instagram and Facebook. Please catch us there. At Glassroots Inc. on Instagram, as y'all know. And on Facebook, it's just Glassroots Inc. You can find us there. Thank you, everyone, for participating. This has been such a blast, and thank you. You really did make this. You're the center. This is amazing to have you part of this. And that is all. We'll catch you all later. Have a great day. Bye, everyone. Thank you for being a part of it. If you have any questions, you can right now for the next minute. You can write a question. If not, I think we are going to end it. I'll wait 1 minute. I'll put this on the screen for the minute. Just rotating it for a minute. Sorry, we're having fun. We're siblings. We're bored. This is.
No light.
And thank you all for coming once again. Really, thank you. Thank you, Rain, for saying it was a great job. We really tried.
Just start. Wait, gotta be like.
we need a lazy boy or something. Okay, thank you all for saying it was a great job. Thank you. I love the hearts. That's amazing. We're getting hearts right now.
Wait, there's other ways to make hearts.
There's other ways to make hearts. We got a half and half. We got a half and half.
We got a half and half.
We got a half and half. Yeah. Thank you. Glassroots loves you. We all love you. Bye. We're leaving now. Everyone have a great day. Catch us tomorrow. We have a made at home challenge tomorrow. You can make your own and send us your response, and we'll post it on our Instagram. Thank you very much, and bye.